When people are asked what springs to mind when they mention Berlin, many will picture Adolf Hitler, the Nazi Party and World War II. Even though this is understandable, there's so much more to this city than what the history books will tell you, and to link it only with such a troubled age is to do Berlin a great injustice. Berlin's origins date back to the 13th century. However, during this time, it was little more than a small settlement on the banks of the River Seine. Down through the ages, Berlin slowly grew, and by the mid-1600s, there were over 20,000 people living here. As the centuries passed, expansion took the city in all directions, and it quickly developed as the capital of Prussia, before becoming the capital of the mighty German Empire. By the late 19th century, Berlin was one of the most powerful cities in Europe, with many great buildings gracing the streets, where there was immense wealth, and it was excelling in both cultural and scientific achievements. With a population of almost 2 million, by the 1900s, the German Empire, administered from Berlin, stretched into what today makes up parts of France, Poland, Russia and Denmark, and it seemed as if nothing could stop its continuous growth. But by 1914, the world was at war with the German Empire, and when the armistice was signed in 1918, after the German government surrendered, the land was taken back and the nation forced by the Treaty of Versailles to accept responsibility for starting the war in the first place and pay huge amounts in compensation. This was a time of great hardship for the people of Berlin, and for that matter, Germany in its entirety. The hardship that resulted from the war debt caused a great deal of resentment, and when matters were made even worse by the worldwide depression that followed the Wall Street crash of 1929, the people of Germany were in desperate need of hope, whatever form it happened to take. Consequently, when, in the 1930s, Adolf Hitler and his Nazi Party came to prominence, offering a new empire and the restoration of national pride, where Hitler led, the people followed. But Hitler's crusade for world domination brought about some of the darkest days in history, as once more the world plummeted into bloody war. By the end of the Second World War in 1945, tens of millions of people had been killed, cities were left in ruins, and Berlin was no exception. Not surprisingly, as the centre of Hitler's operations, Berlin had been devastated by the fighting, and in the aftermath, Germany was divided into 4 zones of occupation, representing the victorious Allies, the Soviets, Americans, British and the French. Berlin too was divided 4 ways, and by the 1960s, a Great Wall had been erected